We need to be on a brain health protection program every day of our lives because we never know when something is going to throw us off. All of us, especially if we've been through something exceptionally traumatic, the functioning and stability of our mind can fluctuate over time. So I'm going to briefly share what is brain health. I'm going to touch on physiological foundations for your best brain health. And the good news is it's mostly free. And then I'm going to share the key to going beyond surviving mentally day-to-day to thriving. So brain health, like I said, it's a new, how many of you have heard of brain, like, is this the first time you've heard it reframed as this, or? Yes, okay, that makes me feel a little better. So I like to think of it as like the hardware of your brain and the software of your brain. So the hardware is like the biological functioning, the synaptic connections, the neurotransmitters, all those fancy words that make the electricity run. And the software is like the programming of your mind. And what I see a lot in my emergency room practice is that without the basic biology of the hardware functioning, very difficult to get the software, the programming of your mind right. And for people who have experienced violence, it's an uphill battle. Survivors of intimate partner violence and sexual assault have much higher rates of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and substance use, and prevalence ranges from 50 to 75% in most studies. So we need to be actively working on our brains. The first foundation is what I like to call the daily reset. So just like you gotta shut off the computer, we gotta really reset every day. So after this, no hanging out, you just gotta go home, take the doctor's orders, okay? So here we go. The first thing is adequate sleep. And that's when all this oxidative and waste product in your brain get cleaned up, all that bullshit that they're telling you about what is legal or what should be legal or what's right and what's wrong. Gotta sleep every day, adequate sleep. Number 2, exposure to adequate sunlight, at least 10 minutes within the first 2 hours of waking. 3, vigorous exercise, and not just to tire you out, but just to improve your brain's vasculature, because without that, it's very hard for your brain to recover in terms of post-traumatic growth. And finally, and my very favorite, is completely disconnecting from your phones. I see some of you on your phones right now. It's fine, it's okay. It's fine. Completely disconnecting. As if you're donating, and it's okay. And it's okay. Okay, you got to anyways, I want you to recharge yourself as much as you recharge all of your devices. It's like we all go around, you're like plugging the computer, plugging the phone. What about plugging in you? How, please? Oh, well, I could go on a deep dive on that. There's all this stuff about heart rate variability, your walk. Anyway, we won't do that today because I'm already losing some of you. So I wish that the reset was as easy as it was in shutting off the laptop. But if you're in survivor mode, what happens is you have high stress, that means you sleep poorly, and you sleep poorly, and then you get more stress, and then you're stressed, and then you're sleeping poorly, and then your sympathetic nervous system gets activated, and it is not sympathetic to you at all. What it does is it elevates your cortisol super high, and then you get this dreaded stress wake up day after day. So every time I work an overnight shift, I have someone coming in asking for a sleeping pill. The sleeping pill industry is estimated to be multi-billion dollars. And it makes me sad because what's most restorative for sleep is all those other things I mentioned that are free. And sadly, I do see people decades after traumatic events coming in. So that's why I was like, I really want to take this time to give you this message because we need our brains, and I'm going to get into that later. So the second fundamental is what I call refueling, and that's positive connections in nutrition. And I've had a lifelong tendency towards workaholism as my trauma response, which I continue to work on to fail. So I often neglect even just like connecting with people that I actually want to connect with, and feeding myself is like an afterthought. So you probably have heard this, but seeing people in person and talking to them on the phone gives you a natural, healthy release of dopamine, oxytocin, other endorphins, and those neurochemicals help reduce stress. Whereas things that people turn to, so like substances, nicotine, sorry about the alcohol, I have been involved. Every time they come, I'm like, no, don't give me the alcohol. Finally, don't drink anymore. But these substances and scrolling, they give you like a short-term spike in your dopamine, and then that's followed by a crash. And then with repeated dependence on all these short-term dopamine things, your body's, like your brain's reward system gets dysregulated, and then you can't get pleasure from natural sources. Similarly, with food, we want to avoid stuff that gives us these spikes in our neuroendocrine system. And personally, I was raised on no-name canned food and like ultra-processed food bank stuff. And I still got into med school, so I used to never pay attention to what I ate. And now there's so much research out there about the connection between your nutritional biochemistry and your brain. There's so much that we can't control, which is our genetics and all this stuff that happened in the past. But what we can control, what we can regain control over, we need to take this opportunity sustainably and lovingly to fuel ourselves. So I want to challenge you, if you are in survivor mode right now, in a crisis or recovering, can you give yourself permission to reset and refuel? Because we are fighting a battle, an external battle, lobbying governments, the legal system, the medical system, to change our culture. And our greatest asset is our brain. That we can get up day after day and demand better. To say, we will not accept that when someone almost murders their partner, they can just pay $500 and be free. No, it is not okay. Right? No. And to get up and say, no, we will not accept that if a friend invites a friend to rape a girl they went home with, there are no legal consequences. No, it is not okay. We need to be more clear-minded than ever. Which brings me to the key to going beyond surviving to thriving. And that's reclaiming our mental agency. Accepting that events that happened in the past, they may have deeply affected us, but they do not define us or determine our future. And this is the reprogramming the software of our minds. So once you've established the physiological foundations for your brain health, which you cannot skip because trust me, I've tried it many times, this is where we get to the way harder stuff. And this is, so the software is like this traditional mental health, which is what psychiatrists use, to try to classify us, and it's helpful, but honestly, most of us don't fit into these boxes. And it also encompasses our emotional health, how we manage our relationships, and the scripts that we allow to run in our minds on repeat. And I wish I could tell you that, just like your sleeping and eating habits and circadian rhythm, that it's going to be formulaic and predictable. If you do this, it's going to work. But deleting shitty programs that we've allowed to run in our minds and uploading better ones is lifelong work, very important work. And there are effective tools like EMDR that's offered by Eve, CBT, DBT, can be even just daily meditation, gratitude, journaling. And I won't get into the specifics of all these things, but I want you to imagine your mind is like this beautiful field of Alberta, canola, or wheat. And if these thoughts that you return to in your mind over and over again, they're like the beaten down footpaths through that field. And they become the easiest routes to take because we've walked them so many times. And when you try to turn the handle of hope instead of turning the handle of despair, try to focus on the future. It's like cutting a fresh trail through tall, tangled stalks. And it feels first you're like, I cannot do this. This feels hard and unnatural. But every time you return to that new path, it becomes clearer, smoother, and more automatic. There's one poem I'd like to read you that really helped tip me into post-traumatic growth. And maybe you've heard it. It's called Autobiography in 5 Chapters by Portia Nelson. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to go. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I go. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. That's it. Right. I hope you guys have heard that before. So for me, Act 5 is when I accepted that the only way for me to fix my own mental health was to walk down another street. Now, I'm 5,000% for bringing to justice, to rehabilitation, people who have committed violence so that we can have a safer world for all of us. But at the same time, mentally continuing to think about the experiences and people that harmed us and giving it a disproportionate amount of time and the airtime in our minds, in the long term, it's doing a disservice to us individually and collectively. And I say this with love as someone who has mentally tried to understand the unfathomable and unconscionable acts of violence in my own family and in my work. Along my journey, I realized that continuing to blame others for problems in my mental world, I became their lifelong victim and I was taking away my own power. And for those of us with genetic vulnerabilities from intergenerational trauma, reclaiming our brain's agency requires even more proactivity. So I leave by encouraging you today by telling you it is possible to heal your brain. If you decide every day to take it in that different direction. Personally, I have audited my thoughts. I take time now to thank the universe that it's given me examples of men who don't hurt women, that there have been a steady stream of men in my life who've proven trustworthy, acted as surrogate fathers and friends, and guided my life in a positive way. And I direct my focus there to amplify that message. And thank you to all of the men that are here in the room here today. Yeah, thank you. These men that support me, including my husband, those of you who are here, believe that together we can end sexual assault and domestic violence. And when we decide every day to stay in our energy and power and acknowledge our agency and capacity, that's when we become unstoppable. And that's when we do what is still widely considered to be the impossible. Just like they said, women would never get the vote until we did. That we could never end the inhumanity of slavery until it was abolished. With our radical brain health, we will do what seems radically impossible. We will no longer allow intimate partner violence and sexual assault to be basically legal in this country. And then together, we will end private violence. Thank you.